Good morning. It is 9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. Show is live on iHeartRadio. Tune in, the 99.7 WTN app, the FM dial, Super Talk TV. You can watch the entire show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Hit like and subscribe while you're on our YouTube page. We do appreciate it. And I know I pump the alternate ways that you can watch, but I think it's important to point out that with the extreme weather that we had over the weekend, we had 10,000 people joining us online to watch us on Facebook and YouTube when we broke into storm coverage. And it does seem like, for the most part, what could have been disastrous wasn't as bad as it could have been over the weekend, and we're grateful for that. Now, I understand everybody's situation is going to be different, and if you're cleaning up, you're dealing with damage, you're dealing with debris, we're praying that you get all the resources and a speedy cleanup. And if anybody in your life was injured in these storms or worse in other states, we pray for those as well. But it does seem like, for the most part, in Middle Tennessee, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And especially when you see what's happening in other states, over 30 people killed as severe weather is hitting. It's crazy, man. And it did look like for a while we were going to be right in that line of fire. But we were here at Super Talk. The entire squad was here. We got some great quarterbacks in Ken Weaver and Matt Murphy, and then Dan Mandis was there, Brian Wilson, Chad Benson, Joan Jones. The entire squad was available, and we were right there covering this storm as it passed through the area. And it does seem like we were pretty blessed in terms of what could have been and what was. And we thank the good Lord for that. If you're dealing with it, we send prayers your way, and hopefully it gets cleaned up very, very quickly. You know, in times like this, if you do have water in your house, we talk about our sponsors a lot, but call USS if you got water getting into your house. Record rainfall in Nashville. Those guys can definitely help you out. They're online, USSTN.com. Not a commercial, just honestly a good piece of advice. Put that in your pocket and save it for later in case you need it. Trump, he didn't have to deal with the weather this weekend. He actually had a fantastic weekend. Listen to this weekend. He's killing terrorists, winning golf championships, and deporting Tren de Aragua members. Maybe the best weekend ever. In fact, the pictures are online. Trump actually took a break from golfing to order the strike on the Houthi terrorists in the Middle East. He sat out of golfing for a second. The pictures are circulating online. He stepped away from a round of golf to put on headphones and watch a missile strike on Houthi terrorists. Maybe the most boss move we've ever seen in America. The biggest story developing, though, wasn't really the Houthis. Now, the Houthis is a big story, make no mistake about it. But the big story was what was happening with the Tren de Aragua members and El Salvador. That story is insane. Absolutely insane. Before we get too far into it, you can find me on Twitter, True Social, and Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. Today on the show at 10:35, very excited. Good friend of the show, Savannah Hernandez, is going to be joining us. She's got a bit of news about the money that the newcomers in California are still receiving from the state. The illegal aliens still getting a lot of money from the state of California. She's got some great reporting on that. We'll talk to her at 10:35. But the one-way ticket to El Salvador, unbelievable. All right, so the federal judge, here's what happened. You got the Alien Enemies Act. That's what they're going to be using. The 1798 law, the Alien Enemies Act, right? Trump invoked that, and he's going to be able to deport the Tren de Aragua gang members without due process. You were essentially a terrorist. You are harming our country. We can get you out. So he uses that act, gets these people on a plane. While the plane is in mid-flight, a federal judge ordered that deportation flight carrying those alleged Venezuelan gang members to turn around and return to the U.S. And everybody said, yeah, no. So you have Trump sending a plane load of illegal aliens out of the country. That's illegal, according to this activist judge. But if Joe Biden wants to import the illegal aliens using planes, that's not a problem at all. Trump ignored that judge's order. The flights landed as scheduled. Here's the timeline. This is one of the craziest stories that you're going to hear all day. So he's using the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, okay? It hasn't been used in quite a while. The wartime law gives the executive extreme power to deport non-citizens without judicial hearings. It's barely been used, particularly in peacetime. But the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, kind of hatched this plan behind the scenes with Kristi Noem and Trump, obviously. But it was like the inner circle. And they say that they didn't set out to defy a court order. They say that the plan was to use this act, have the planes land in El Salvador before a judge could even get the case. But it worked out that the judge got the case while the planes were in midair, and the Trump administration said no. Here's the timeline. 2:31 p.m. on Saturday, immigration activist who tracks deportation flights posted on X that he has two highly unusual flights, okay? Two highly unusual flights departing from Texas to El Salvador. You can see the post on the screen if you're watching on Supertalk TV. Two highly unusual ICE flights showing up now from Harlingen to El Salvador. In the last 1.5 months, there's only been one to El Salvador from this area, and two on a day, especially Saturday. Venezuelan deportation. I don't see a plane from Venezuela to rendezvous there at this time. So this user on X completely spotted this thing in real time. Hours later, during a court hearing filed by the ACLU, this judge ordered a halt to the deportations and said any flights should be turned around in midair. In midair. No, the Trump administration says hard pass. They said this is something that you need to make sure is complied with immediately, he told the Justice Department, according to the Washington Post. Now, at about 6:51, both flights were off the Yucatan Peninsula. This is after the judge, like right around the same time the judge is making that order. The flights are already over international waters. Inside the White House, you got officials saying, okay, should we turn the plane around? What should we do? And after some discussions and a team of administration lawyers, they said, nope, we're going to press ahead. There was a discussion about how far the judge's ruling can go under the circumstances and over international waters, and on advice of counsel, we proceeded with deporting these thugs, the senior official told Axios. Good. Yeah, the planes are already gone. They were already outside of U.S. airspace. We believe the order is not applicable, a second senior administration told Axios. Sorry, guys. They're already over international waters. Then Carolyn Levitt, she told Axios, if Democrats want to argue in favor of turning a plane full of rapists, murderers, and gangsters back to the United States, that's a fight we're more than happy to take. You know what? I was waiting for this on the Sunday morning shows. I don't know if it was a strategy or what, but I only found one clip of a Democrat being asked about this, and it was Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine. I don't know if maybe the other Democrats didn't want to be asked the question because they didn't want to be put in a position to defend gang members, murderers, and rapists having to be flown back to the United States. But that's the position that they're in currently. If you want to, because no matter what Trump does, they're going to have to argue against it. This is another 80-20 issue. This might be a 95-5 issue. This might be a 99-1 issue. This is such an easy, open and shut win for the Trump administration, but the activist judge is weaseling his way in there, and the Democrats and talking heads on TVs they're going to have to make their case against it. So you do have Democrats out there trying to argue against this. Again, the only one I saw was one Jasmine Crockett, and she was talking about it on Jake Tapper's. This is State of the Union with Jake Tapper. Jasmine Crockett gets on TV, and she does her best to try to defend the order from the judge to turn the plane around.
Administration say are dangerous individuals with ties to the gang Tren, Aragua. That gang is obviously associated with a lot of crime, human trafficking, drug dealing, theft, shootings, including in your state of Texas, right outside of your congressional district. Do you agree with this? And if not, what's your issue with the U.S. using any tool at its disposal to remove undocumented violent people from this country?
Well, my argument is that we already have tools that are available to remove undocumented violent people from our country. And so the idea that you want to go into a zombie law, this is kind of like what we saw in Arizona when they decided to revive a zombie law around abortion. It is the fact that we can't trust this administration to actually use a scalpel, but instead they love to use a butcher knife on things. And so giving them this wide latitude to just kind of go across and just claim that anybody is anything is wrong. And so we do have courts, we do have processes, we do have laws, and we should just go ahead and use those. There's a reason that nobody else has decided to go back until into Adam's times in order to try to find ways to make sure that we can keep our country safe.
Oh, yeah, except, she ignores the fact that this problem was created under the Biden administration. Absolutely, full stop. She ignores that the only reason that this zombie law needs to be used is because the Biden administration allowed in thousands upon thousands of known gang members, murderers, rapists. She's going to argue in favor of this? Oh, we don't know if they're gang members. We have no idea. Well, actually, they're technically designated as terrorist organizations now, so we can just call them terrorists. But did you see the video that was posted all over social media of them arriving in El Salvador? You look at these guys, the tattoos, kind of a dead giveaway that these are not the best people. And the video's on the screen now of the military accepting these prisoners into El Salvador, shaving their heads in the prison system. It is truly remarkable how they handled these prisoners in El Salvador. But 238 members of the Venezuelan criminal organization was taken in by Nayib Bukele out of El Salvador. And so the New York Post put that story out that the president, that the judge ordered the deportation flights to return. Nayib Bukele posted on X, "Oopsie, too late," which may be one of the greatest tweets of all time. So to recap, you got Stephen Miller, Noam, Trump admin, secretly orchestrating these flights to deport Venezuelan gang members before an activist judge could intervene. Then the judge gets in there and tries to tell them to turn the plane around. Now they're saying that this is the Trump administration defying a court order, demanding that the two planes be turned around. Officials argue that the flights were already over international waters. They weren't defying a judge's order. The ruling is irrelevant. And the administration is saying that when this gets fought, and it will go all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they're very confident that they win when they hit the Supreme Court. Now, should we be confident with Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett? I don't know. But it does seem like this is pretty open and shut. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt had something to say. Pam Bondi, she called out that activist judge for protecting TDA members and more. I'll bring you those comments when we get back. Plus, we'll talk about the Houthis. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Floodwaters are still high in some areas around here. We'll tell you how to find out where they are. And President Trump deports Tren de Aragua gang members, leaving a federal judge hopping mad. Those stories coming up here at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. 927 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. If you're watching us on Super Talk TV, you'll see the video on the screen of these Tren de Aragua gang members being graciously accepted to El Salvador and being brought into CCOT, which is one of the most secure prisons in the world. Bill Malugin has some numbers per a Trump admin official. He says that there were 261 illegal aliens. I've heard that there was as many as 283. I think it's more than 250, less than 300 is what we're going with. But he said 137 were removed via the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. 101 were Venezuelans removed via Title VIII, regular immigration proceedings. 21 were MS-13 gang members. 2 were special cases for El Salvador. Nayib Bukele posted that the U.S. returned 2 MS-13 ringleaders to El Salvador. And some of the rap sheets on these guys we're talking about kidnapping, sexual abuse of a child, robbery, aggravated assault on police officers. Make no mistake, this is who the Democrats are putting first when they argue in favor of that judge ordering those flights to turn around. When they try to bash the Trump administration for ignoring a judge's order, this is who they're defending. It's America last once again. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt responded to those allegations that the Trump administration defied a court order. Now, I think it's like wink, wink, nod, nod. Yeah, they knew the court order was going to come sooner or later. They defied it without defying it, I guess. The planes were over international waters when the court order came out, and they said, sorry, judge doesn't have jurisdiction there. But Carolyn Leavitt put out this statement. The administration did not refuse to comply with a court order. The order, which had no lawful basis, was issued after TDA aliens had already been removed from U.S. territory. The written order and the administration's actions do not conflict. Moreover, as the Supreme Court has repeatedly made clear, federal courts generally have no jurisdiction over the president's conduct of foreign affairs. His authorities under the Alien Enemies Act and his core Article 2 powers to remove foreign alien terrorists from U.S. soil and repel a declared invasion, a single judge in a single city cannot direct the movements of an aircraft carrier full of foreign alien terrorists who were physically expelled from U.S. soil. Thank you, Press Secretary Leavitt. She put it down perfectly. Bondi, she is slamming the judge who blocked Trump using the Alien Enemies Act to deport Tren de Aragua. Attorney General Pam Bondi said tonight a D.C. trial judge supported Tren de Aragua terrorists over the safety of Americans. TDA is represented by the ACLU. This order disregards well-established authority regarding President Trump's power and puts the public and law enforcement at risk. The Department of Justice is undeterred in its efforts to work with the White House, the Department of Homeland Security, and all of our partners to stop this invasion and make America safe again. Bondi's statement came after that judge ordered the Trump administration to immediately halt efforts to remove those migrants until he decided whether the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act was illegal or not. Deal with it, bro. Deal with it. If you're an illegal alien in this country, if you're a gang member, if you're a member of Tren de Aragua, let this serve as a message. You will be sent home. And I can't think of a stronger deterrence of, it might not even be home. It might be the most secure prison in El Salvador. Gang members are a lot of things. I don't know if you would classify stupid as one of them, but it would be a stupid move to break into this country right now if you're a gang member and you know that your destination isn't going to be New York City. It's going to be El Salvador. It's 9:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 9:31. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Still picking up the pieces in the Nashville region after Saturday's severe weather. Some residents in the Rutherford and Bedford counties are still in cleanup mode after a confirmed EF1 tornado caused damages across a 4.5-mile stretch. In Murfreesboro, there were 6 people rescued from 2 flooded-out vehicles. Folks trying to drive through high waters there. Some roads are still flooded out, and you can find a list of them on the WTN X account. The Chapel Hill Fire Department said it worked with state park rangers to rescue 10 people and 1 dog around the River Road RV park. They were trapped by floodwaters in those RVs. There is a fresh battle between President Trump and the federal judges who are aiming to stop his administration from achieving its goals. Several planes packed with Venezuelan gang members flown to El Salvador despite a judge declaring that President Trump cannot use the Alien Enemies Act to do so. Could there be disciplinary action for the administration? Well, here's ABC's Catherine Faulders on that.
There could be sanctions, for example. They could have the U.S. Marshals issue sanctions or arrest people. But here's the thing. The reality is the U.S. Marshals are under the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice works for the Trump administration.
And the White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt saying that the judge's order was issued after the gang members had already been removed. And apparently Trump derangement syndrome has found its way across the big pond.
A French lawmaker is calling on the U.S. to give back the Statue of Liberty, saying America apparently despises the monument. Raphael Glucksmann said the U.S. no longer represents the values Lady Liberty stands for. The statue was a gift from France in 1886. Glucksmann, who has criticized President Trump over his policy in Ukraine, said the U.S. has chosen to side with tyrants.
ABC's Andrew Dimbert there. This is one of Chris's favorite stories
Send
of
it
the
back.
day.
Send it back. Deport the statue. We don't need it. We don't need it. We don't need it.
We need a big ship for that, I think. Yeah.
Send it back. Melt it down.
That is the latest news. We've got your weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
38 minutes past the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We love those guys. Savannah Hernandez, great friend of the show. She's going to be joining us in about an hour. She's got a great story coming out of California. Well, I say great story. The reporting is great. The story is infuriating. State's still giving out money to the newcomers. A lot of money. I got some questions for Sav, and she'll break it down for us. She's always a great interview. Looking forward to that. Trump's busy weekend. I mean, unbelievable weekend. Unbelievable. He won a golf championship. Surprisingly, it may be his last one ever. I know. It's sad. He may not play in the championship next year. But while he's playing in that championship over the weekend, he's also sending planefuls of Tren de Aragua terrorists to El Salvador and ordering missile strikes on the Houthis. What? There's a picture going around of Trump, and he's in his golf gear. He's in his golf getup, and he's looking at a screen where he's watching the missile strikes happen. So he hits a birdie, I'm assuming. Is that a good thing? I don't know. I don't golf much. It's a par 4.
I think it's a turkey where you get 3 in the hole in a row, right?
He's just crushing it out there. He's just an absolute madman. And part of me wonders, do they let Trump win because he's Trump? Do you think that might be a situation where they don't want to beat Trump?
He's the president. We can't.
You know what I mean? Like, oh gosh, hit that ball into the sand trap. I almost won. You know what I mean? Like, does that happen? It might.
Too far in the rough.
It might. Maybe he's just that good. Anyway, he's winning golf championships. He's bombing. He's sending terrorists home, and he's bombing other terrorists. This upsets the American left. You're not allowed to send terrorists to prison, and you're not allowed to bomb terrorists. So they're very upset about this. But the Houthis, I mean, listen, this is wild. And the White House shared these photos. Here, I'll put this on the screen so you can see this photo. This is Trump in his golf gear watching the bombing happen. Wild. Absolutely incredible. So that photo is going to be iconic. But the White House shared those images of Donald Trump watching on a computer the deadly strike against the Houthi rebels in Yemen. So he's watching this happen in real time. They also revealed that they spoke to Russia about the attacks beforehand in an effort to kind of improve diplomatic relations and increase that communication. But the photos are circulating, and they're titling it "Trump Watching Hell Unleashed on Iran-Backed Houthi Rebels in Yemen," were circulated by the White House on X on Saturday. Trump, dressed in his golfing attire, wore a large black headset and donned a MAGA hat that appeared emblazoned with his own autograph on its brim in the first shared photos. President Trump is taking action against the Houthis to defend U.S. shipping assets and deter terrorist threats, the caption read on the post. If you're watching on Super Talk TV, you'll see the trade routes that they're talking about. So this happened, what was it, 2024, where essentially all of the trade routes under Joe Biden, they had to go around Africa the long way instead of cutting through the Red Sea there. And that adds a massive headache. I mean, you're talking about 22 to 28 more days to get items to Europe, transport costs being quadrupled. And why? Because of ridiculous terrorists. Plus, we've been dealing with these Houthi terrorists attacking our Navy, as Marco Rubio put it over the weekend, 174 times. 174 times. Marco Rubio is on CBS's Face the Nation to talk about that strike against the Houthis.
The problem here is that this is a very important shipping lane, and in the last year and a half, the last 18 months, the Houthis have struck or attacked 174 naval vessels of the United States, attacking the U.S. Navy directly 174 times, and 145 times they've attacked commercial shipping. So we basically have a band of pirates, with guided precision anti-ship weaponry, and exacting a toll system in one of the most important shipping lanes in the world. That's just not sustainable. We are not going to have these people controlling which ships can go through and which ones cannot. And so your question is, how long will this go on? It will go on until they no longer have the capability to do that.
Well, what does U.S. intelligence tell us at this point? Because the U.S. had been conducting strikes for some time, but has not stopped the Houthis. So what's going to be different right now? Do you have more fidelity in the intelligence that would make this more successful?
What's going to be different this time, says Margaret Brennan. What's going to be different? Well, I would assume that the big difference is going to be Trump. That's the big difference. We don't have a president on autopilot anymore. We have a president who's actually taking action. I think that's a massive difference. But you have our Navy being attacked 174 times. You have commercial shipping being attacked 145 times over the past year and a half. Every 3 days, you're getting 1 or 2 attacks. Insanity. Trump is saying, no, this ends now. But what's going to be different this time? Again, it's the administration maneuvering from a position of strength. I think that's the biggest difference to me.
Well, those strikes were retaliation strikes. So they launched one missile, we hit the missile launcher, or we sent something to do it. This is not a message. This is not a one-off. This is an effort to deny them the ability to continue to constrict and control shipping. And it's just not going to happen. We're not going to have these guys, these people with weapons able to tell us where our ships can go, where the ships of all the world can go, by the way. It's not just the U.S. We're doing the world a favor. Yeah. We're doing the entire world a favor by getting rid of these guys and their ability to strike global shipping. That's the mission here, and it will continue until that's carried out. That never happened before. The Biden administration didn't do that. All the Biden administration would do is they would respond to an attack. These guys would launch one rocket, we'd hit the rocket launcher. That's it. This is an effort to take away their ability to control global shipping in that part of the world. That's just not going to happen anymore.
And it could.
So this will continue until that's finished.
It could involve ground raids?
Well, those are military decisions to be made, but I've heard no talk of ground raids. I don't think there's a necessity for it right now. I can tell you that as of last night, some of the key people involved in those missile launches are no longer with us, and I can tell you that some of the facilities that they used are no longer existing, and that will continue. Look, it's bottom line, easy way to understand it, okay? These guys are able to control what ships can go through there. They've attacked the U.S. Navy. 174 times they've attacked the United States Navy. We're not going to have people sitting around with the missiles attacking the U.S. Navy. It's not going to happen, not under President Trump.
That's the biggest difference. President Trump. Once again. Now, you'll see the leftists, and, I have this graphic of the shipping routes, but one of the first comments on the tweet there is a bunch of people wearing MAGA hats saying war is good now. And no. Neither is letting terrorists control a massive shipping route. But Marco Rubio said in that statement, there is no talk of ground raids yet. It's not a necessity for it right now. There's no necessity for that. We can do all of this from afar, no boots on the ground. Again, if we let the terrorists control those shipping route areas, we're quadrupling transport costs. We're adding an additional month of February onto the time it would take to get to Europe. It's not sustainable whatsoever. We're not going to take that. We're not going to take the long way so that way we can bend the knee to terrorists any longer. That might have worked under the Biden administration. It's not how it's going to happen under the Trump administration. And Trump is so serious about this that he'll take a break from golf to watch these terrorists be bombed. Good. Thank you. Again, this may have been one of the best weekends ever for Donald Trump as president. Missile strikes on terrorists, terrorists being sent to a prison in El Salvador, and he wins a golf championship. Wild. Absolutely wild. But again, they're saying that this might be Trump's, it's a little sad, might be Trump's last golf championship. He posted on True Social. He said, I won the golf club championship, probably my last, at Trump International Golf Club in Palm Beach County, Florida. Such a great honor. The awards dinner is tonight at the club. I want to thank the wonderful golf staff and all of the many fantastic golfers that participated in the event. Such fun. Maybe his last one. I know. So it's got a bit of sad news with all the good news. I know. It's okay. That
doesn't mean he's going to stop golfing. He's just not going to compete.
Let's be thankful for the memories we had.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the championships won. It's the end of a dynasty at the Trump Golf Club. But no, listen, wild weekend. Absolutely wild. And, it's crazy because we kind of unplugged here on Super Talk and went into weather coverage. So I was at church when I heard about the planes being turned around. I was like, what? Like, I've been watching radars like a madman and wasn't really paying attention to, like, the news that was happening. I was, more focused on the safety aspect of it. I think the entire team here was. So when I plugged back in Sunday, I'm like, all right, what happened over the weekend? I was like, oh my gosh. What? Trump is taking a break from golfing to watch terrorists be bombed and defying court orders from judges. Now, again, the White House said he's not defying a court order. The planes were already over international waters with sending those TDA members back to El Salvador. But they knew that court order was going to come. And there was definitely conversation in the White House on whether they should turn the planes around or not, and they opted to not. I'm here for it. Nayib Bukele posted that headline about the judge ordering the planes turned around, and he had the caption, "Oopsie, too late," which, again, may be one of the greatest tweets of all time. Nayib Bukele also posted on X when it comes to the Tren de Aragua members coming back to Venezuela. And he said they were immediately transferred to CCOT, the terrorist confinement center, for a period of 1 year. The United States will pay a very low fee for them, but a high one for us. Over time, these actions, combined with the production already being generated by more than 40,000 inmates engaged in various workshops and labor under the Zero Idleness Program, will help make our prison system self-sustainable. As of today, it costs $200 million per year. On this occasion, the U.S. also sent us 23 MS-13 members wanted by Salvadoran justice, including 2 ringleaders. One of them is a member of the criminal organization's highest structure. This is who the judge wanted to have turned back around and sent to the U.S. This will help finalize, Nayib Bukele, this will help us finalize intelligence gathering and go after the last remnants of MS-13, including its former and new members, money, weapons, drugs, hideouts, collaborators, and sponsors. As always, we continue advancing in the fight against organized crime, but this time, we're also helping our allies, making our prison system self-sustainable and obtaining vital intelligence to make our country an even safer place, all in a single action. May God bless El Salvador, and may God bless the United States. Hell of a weekend, Donald Trump. Hell of a weekend. Unbelievable. We got a lot more to cover. Some updates on the border. And again, Savannah Hernandez joining the show at 10:35. A lot to get to. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
A tornado and straight line winds. We'll take a look at Saturday's storms. Also, we have new information about the college student missing in the Dominican Republic. Those stories at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the dust-encrusted news closet. It's 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. The show's live on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, and the FM dial. You can watch the show, Super Talk TV, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and our personal favorite, YouTube, where I usually enjoy the YouTube chat.
Saw some fun comments over there.
Yeah, they're giving me grief.
Yeah, Fly Girl over there said, call Chris Dwight on the air. Put his stapler in Jello.
She thinks I look like Dwight from The Office today?
I think those color patterns are matching a little bit. Maybe get you some glasses and a little side part or middle part there.
How do we block her on the YouTube chat?
No, I think we need to keep her. I think we should put her as priority chat.
All right. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Head on over to YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe. Let me know if I look like Dwight from The Office. Mike in Nashville wants to talk about Trump and Tren de Aragua. What's up, Mike? Yo,
yeah, how you doing?
What's up, man?
This judge, first of all, I want to ask you a question. Maybe you could check up on it. Is there anything that this judge can do to Donald Trump, which I don't think, for not turning that plane around? He is the president of the U.S. He said that Trump violated the order that was issued to him. Donald Trump did nothing wrong. Here's the scary part about this, Chris, is that these people were in the United States. These gang members, these people that have done a lot of bad things, and they were on the loose in America, and now they're not in this country anymore. This should make everybody that's listening to me right now feel a whole lot safer for them and themselves and their family to know that these individuals are no longer in the U.S. And as far as that judge goes, he should be disbarred from being a judge as far as I'm concerned. Anybody that's stupid enough to say that Donald Trump should turn an airplane around with a plane load of criminals and violent offending drug dealers and anything else that was on that plane ought to be ashamed of themselves. It is un-American, and he ought to be disbarred from being a judge. And I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. And I thank you for taking my call.
I don't know what else to say, Mike, except for preach, brother. Preach. You're here, man. I'm here for it. I don't think the judge can do anything to Trump. I do think it's going to be elevated all the way up to the Supreme Court, and then all eyes are going to be on Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett. We'll see what happens. They've let us down in the past. They may let us down again, but we'll keep our eyes on that. Is the Trump travel ban 2.0 incoming? We'll talk about that when we get back. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, straight up 10 o'clock right now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And watch yourself, 65 in the southbound lanes. It's an accident right at Trinity Lane, and it's blocking off the right shoulder there, also attracting some attention. Something we have talked a lot about on Saturday during our storm coverage here on Super Talk, what appeared to be a tornado in the Bedford and Rutherford counties. Well, now the National Weather Service says, that was an EF1 that touched down, crossed over Highway 41A and intensified as it made its way over to Highway 231. That tornado had 95-mile-an-hour winds, and it did cause some damages to outbuildings and barns, but no injuries. And it's not over yet here. Rutherford County Sheriff's Office issuing a list of roads that are still flooded out. As of last night, they include Christiana Fosterville Road and also Midland Fosterville Road. Officers say that is something you've heard a million times over. Turn around, don't drown. Well, that still applies here today. In Grundy County, extensive damage reported in the town of Palmer because of straight line winds clocked at 95 miles an hour. That was according to the National Weather Service as well. The Palmer Fire Department reporting 13 structures were affected. Dozens of trees fell on roadways. There was one minor injury reported. President Trump says he will speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the ongoing negotiations with Ukraine. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers has the details.
President Trump told reporters on Air Force One late Sunday night he'll speak to Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday as his administration pushes for a ceasefire in Russia's war in Ukraine.
We want to see if we can bring that war to an end. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but I think we have a very good chance.
President Trump indicated that discussions around land concessions and power plants were on the negotiating table, as well as dividing up assets between the two countries.
A lot of work's been done over the weekend.
Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
In the Dominican Republic, police will continue questioning 22-year-old Joshua Reeby, the last person believed to have seen a missing University of Pittsburgh college student. ABC's Rhiannon Alley.
ABC News has confirmed Dominican authorities confiscated Reeby's passport, making it impossible for him to return to the U.S. until after the investigation is complete. But while police say Reeby is only considered a witness to a possible drowning, sources familiar with the investigation claim the lead prosecutor is now examining possible contradictions in his story.
And his lawyers claim that Reeby is being held illegally. Well, stocks are mixed right now after a report that showed consumers stepped up their spending just a little bit last month. Retail sales rose 0.2%, rebounding from January's 1.2% drop. The Dow Jones right now is up 180 points. That's the latest news. We've got weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
.10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners. Do I need to tell you why you need them?
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
BetterWater.com if you need that. They're good people. And they're right here in Middle Tennessee, BetterWater.com. I'm just telling Mason off the air, I'm so sore today. I'm like, so last night, me and my boys, so I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and we went full WWF in the living room, and we were just wrestling. We wrestled for maybe like an hour and a half.
That's awesome.
Like they were climbing up on top of cabinets and like doing splashes off the top onto Dad.
From the high rope.
I won, for the record.
I mean, yeah, of course.
I pinned them.
You lose.
I pinned both of them. But it was a lot of fun until I'm like, why am I so sore? Yikes.
I'm ready for the day that you come in and go, they did it.
Yeah, they beat me.
They beat me.
Dude, sometimes I have to give up and let them pin me to all right, we got to
them to calm down a little bit.
We got to end this. You guys won. I have to concede. But yesterday I did not concede. I won.
Good.
Yep. Yeah.
I was about to call you weak on the air.
You got to teach these kids a lesson every now and again.
Yeah, let them know who's in charge.
Yeah, you know what? Radio segue. Donald Trump is letting everybody know who's in charge. You like that?
Clean.
I mean, that's a clean segue. All right, travel ban 2.0. Is this on deck? A lot of people are reporting this. The Post Millennial has a story. The New York Times has been reporting it. Trump may ban travelers from 43 different countries from traveling to the United States, including, ready for it? Russia. I know. I thought he was a Putin puppet. I thought Trump was in bed with the Kremlin. That's what they tell us, right?
It's what I've heard.
Will you Google it and see if Trump is still a Putin puppet for me? Can you fact check that?
Nope. I don't think so.
All right.
Got it right here.
Trump administration has drafted a list of 43 countries in a memo that may be subject to the ban or heavy travel restrictions using recommendations from diplomatic officials as well as others, according to the New York Times. If Russia's on the list, are they going to be able to call him an evil racist this time? Asking for a friend. The ban lays out 3 categories, okay? Countries that are automatically subjected to a total travel ban to the U.S., countries that will have a sharp decrease in travel visas granted, and a large group of countries that will need to address policy concerns in order for no travel ban measures to be taken against them. There are 11 red countries, okay? Red countries are countries that are going to be completely banned from traveling to the United States. Those countries are you ready? Keep score at home. Afghanistan, Bhutan, Cuba, Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Venezuela, and Yemen. Completely banned. No travel. And if they find you here, it's probably what? Straight to jail? Would it be straight to jail if they found him?
You right to jail.
Maybe. I would hope so.
Right to jail.
That's what I would vote for. Or home. Or maybe
right to jail right away.
Maybe the terrorist prison in El Salvador. That would be cool too. 11 red countries: Afghanistan, Bhutan, Cuba, Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Venezuela, and Yemen. Then there's an orange category. The list of the 10 in orange are countries whose travel visas will decrease sharply. This includes Belarus, Eritrea. Nobody knows where that is. Nobody. Do you know where Eritrea is? No idea. Haiti, Laos, Myanmar, Pakistan, Russia, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, and Turkmenistan. So those countries will they do get visas, but they'll also be subject to an in-person interview requirement in order to get their visa. Because of this, more business travelers may be allowed to go to the U.S., but your average traveler who's just going for like a week vacation may not be able to get a visa so easily. Finally, there is a yellow list where 22 countries have been asked to clear up what the Trump administration has determined to be deficiencies in their travel system. In an executive order that Trump signed when he took office on January 20th, it stated that the countries had to be identified for a ban where vetting and screening information is so deficient as to warrant a partial or full suspension on the admission of nationals from those countries. 3 categories: Trump travel ban 2.0. The order in January said that the ban was designed to protect Americans from aliens who intend to commit terrorist attacks, threaten our national security, espouse hateful ideology, or otherwise exploit the immigration laws for malevolent purposes. Trump travel ban 2.0. They will scream he's a racist. Be ready for that. But that's part and parcel for the course these days, right? It's part and parcel. No matter how you slice it, we need to slow down the immigration. We need to not let in people from countries that hate us. And if we can't vet the people coming in, then yeah, it absolutely needs to be stalled, if not halted altogether. But the left will scream racism. The left always screams racism. Even with the illegal aliens that we have here now, they'll scream that Trump is a racist for wanting to deport them while saying the most racist crap at the exact same time. And it's like, do you know what you're saying here? Jasmine Crockett, she was doing an interview with what was this? It was like some panel that she was at, some like convention or something along those lines. And she was talking about illegal aliens. We need them. We actually need the illegal aliens to pick our crops and clean our hotel rooms. First of all, we don't. Okay, like we don't. We don't. Stephen Miller has laid this out numerous times. It's like I can't remember the exact if it's like 2 or 3%, but it's less than 5% of the illegal aliens that are here are picking our crops. Okay, so like that notion on its face is just ridiculous. But Jasmine Crockett, well, she wants to tell you that Trump is racist while saying racist things.
How many of you are sending your kids to college to go and work on them? Okay, well, guess who is working the farms? So that you can afford your food. So that you can have food. So that you can have food. Now, how many of you are looking to send your kids into hospitality after this college education so that they can go and make the beds at the hotels? How many of you are planning to send your kids to college? Because that's what we do here. We send everybody to college. How many of you are planning to send your kids to college so that they can then go and build these houses? So the reality is that so long as we live in a capitalist society, there's always going to be someone or a group of people that will do work that some of the rest of y'all don't want to do. These are the people that are really making us great in this country.
Ah, yes. It's only the illegal aliens that are picking crops and only illegal aliens working in hotel rooms and cleaning beds. And that's the work that they're doing. That's the work that they're doing. This is the modern left. Trump is a racist. Hold on. Let me say something racist. It's just not the reality. It's not. Is there a lot of illegal aliens or undocumented workers in these fields? Maybe, perhaps. But I just find it so funny that the left will scream Donald Trump is a racist and then say, hold my beer. Let me say something equally as degrading, right? It's wild. Also, she said, everybody's sending their kids to college. College is a scam. It's a scam. And I hate to break it to the left. If you're going for a gender diversity degree or a gender studies degree, well, the reality of the situation may be that you will be working in the hospitality industry upon graduation. Let's just be perfectly honest. But it's changing the fabric of our country. J.D. Vance was on with Laura Ingraham, and you know you import the third world, well you'll become the third world, and that's essentially what J.D. Vance was saying in this clip with Laura Ingraham. He was talking about Germany and how they're importing millions of immigrants and millions upon millions of newcomers, and he's saying, listen, when you zoom out, it doesn't matter what Germany thinks at the end of the day. Because of this rampant immigration, the Germany you know is no longer going to exist. And that could happen here too. That could happen here too. But he says, listen, who cares what Germany says? With this immigration, Germany's already killed itself.
I really believe that we have a great deal in common with Europe. And I'm not, yes, the Europeans annoy me sometimes, and yes, I disagree with them on certain issues, but we have to remember that is the cradle of Western civilization. The entire idea of Christian civilization that led to the founding of the United States of America, that was formed in Europe. The cultural bonds, the religious bonds, these things are going to last beyond political disagreements, but I think that Europe, and frankly, I would have said this about America a year ago, but Europe is at risk, I think, of engaging in civilizational suicide. They are unable to, or unwilling, too many countries to control their borders. You see them starting to push back against that, and good, that's a good thing. You see them starting to limit the free speech of their own citizens, even as those citizens are protesting against things like the border invasion that got Donald Trump and a number of European leaders elected. So look, I want Europe to thrive. I want them to be an important ally. Part of that is going to be Europe respecting its own people, respecting its own sovereignty, and America can't do that job for them. If you have a country like Germany, where you have another few million immigrants come in from countries that are totally culturally incompatible with Germany, then it doesn't matter what I think about Europe. Germany will have killed itself, and I hope they don't do that because I love Germany and I want Germany to thrive.
I mean, it's a wild clip, and it's hard to pick apart what he says. He's absolutely right. And make no mistake about it, we were in that position 1 year ago. We're importing millions upon millions of immigrants, illegal aliens, and the whole point of America is assimilation, right? Like, we'll welcome you in, like, no mistake about it. Like, if you're a legal immigrant, and I've met many of them, they're great. And a lot of these individuals love this country, full stop. They love it. They're here for it. But when you're importing millions upon millions of people who don't share the same values that we hold and they're refusing to assimilate, well, America's not going to look like America. And Germany and Europe is facing this problem as well. But Jasmine Crockett, she says, we need illegal aliens. We need them to pick our crops and clean our hotel rooms. And I think that's just a logical fallacy. In fact, there's a story in The Economist. And this is a mainstream magazine, right? A leftist magazine. And they had a recent study of Danish data by Jan van de Beek of the Amsterdam School of Economics. And they said that migration is actually only fiscally beneficial, on average, if immigrants have at least a bachelor's degree, and migrants from part of the world with lower human capital are more than likely to be a fiscal drag on your nation. Color me shocked. Color me shocked. The Danish Finance Ministry calculated in 2019 that migrants from Western countries made an average contribution of 52,000 krone, which was 7,800 per person. Those from the Middle East and North Africa were on average costing the state more in spending than they provided in taxes. Let's zoom out and let's ask that same question about our own immigration policies when we're giving them free room and board in hotels and food and cell phones. Now, I know a lot of that has stopped under the Trump administration, but you can absolutely make the argument that the illegal aliens in this country are far more of an economic downside than they are an upside. But who's going to pick our crops? Who's going to clean our hotel rooms? I find it just insane that that's the argument they're using on the left. And pretty much you could call them racist for saying it. They would call you racist for saying it. But this is where we're at. This is the state of the world. The migrants you're bringing in are going to cost you more often than not. But who's going to pick our crops? Who's going to clean our hotel rooms? They're doing the jobs you don't want to do. You know, like human trafficking, drug trafficking. I read a story about a Tren de Aragua member extorting a woman by pulling out her fingernails. These are the jobs that your average American citizen doesn't want to do. But ICE raids continue. And the reality of Germany was our reality until Donald Trump took office. ICE raids are continuing. And we have more TDA members being taken into custody all over the country. I'll bring you some of these stories when we get back. Don't forget, Savannah Hernandez is going to be joining the show. She's a fantastic investigative journalist. She's got a great story coming out of California. Not a great story, but the reporting is great. She'll talk to us at 10:35. A lot to get to. It is 10:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you, Joan Jones. 1024, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to the show anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in, the 99.7 WTN app, the FM dial. You can watch the show. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and our personal favorite, YouTube. The chat is jumping over there today. Hit like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you a thing, and then you can even set yourself up for notifications when we go live. So, like, over the weekend when we went live with storm coverage, you would have got that pinged right to your phone. You know, I think you know when we go live Monday through Friday, but in those scenarios where we're going live for the storm coverage, those notifications could be a lot more helpful.
Yeah, they could be clutch especially with good radar coverage and whatnot. Yeah,
100%. And shout out to Mason. Mason was fantastic on that stream yesterday. Yes, was it Saturday?
Saturday.
Saturday. Where we had radar on the screen. Everybody was all hands on deck. We had myself, Mandis, Murphy, Weaver, Jones, Benson, Wilson, like the whole squad was standing by, and Mason was producing. But we had like 10,000 people watching on the stream.
Yeah, it was huge.
So we always go live for that kind of coverage. So if you want to get those notifications on your phone, you can hit the little bell on YouTube and hit like and subscribe, and then you'll get those notifications instantly. Just a good backup. So we were talking about Jasmine Crockett, and she said, listen, illegal aliens, they're doing the work we don't want to do. They're picking crops and cleaning up hotel rooms.
How many of you are sending your kids to college to go and work on them? Okay, well, guess who is working the farms? So that you can afford your food.
So that you can have food.
So that you can have food. Now, how many of you are looking to send your kids into hospitality after this college education so that they can go and make the beds at the hotels? How many of you are planning to send your kids to college? Because that's what we do here. We send everybody to college.
College is a scam.
How many of you are planning to send your kids to college so that they can then go and build these houses? So the reality is that so long as we live in a capitalist society, there's always going to be someone or a group of people that will do work that some of the rest of y'all don't want to do. These are the people that are really making us great in this country.
Okay, so that's Jasmine Crockett. Listen, they're doing the jobs that we don't want to do. They're picking crops and they're cleaning hotel rooms. And I love you guys on the chat over on YouTube and on the super text line. I wish I was as smart as a lot of you, but I'm getting a lot of texts. 6310. Wait a second. I thought they said we were getting the dreamers, those who would be doctors and scientists and would find the cure for cancer. Yeah, honestly, this is the state of the left. You can't deport these people. What if they're going to be the next big scientist and the next great doctor, and they're going to cure all these diseases? Well, Jasmine Crockett thinks that all they're going to be doing is picking crops and cleaning hotel rooms. Also, like, can we be real? Like, those hospitality industry jobs should be for Americans. Weird. I know. It's crazy. But like, if you're an 18-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid, and you're working your way through college, like, yeah, hospitality would be great. Why wouldn't you do that? What's the issue? Oh, it's jobs Americans don't want to do. Well, they would if they were available to them and they weren't being undercut by foreign labor. Weird how that might work out. There's so many people on the text line. I thought that the dreamers were supposed to be doctors and scientists. Yep. Emotional arguments. This is how the left argues everything, right? They try to manipulate you with emotion. Don't let them. Don't let them. There will be people to pick the crops. There will be people to clean the hotel rooms. I can guarantee it. Meanwhile, ICE raids continue. We had some ICE raids in Kentucky. 81 illegal aliens arrested in Kentucky. This story from Breitbart. A host of federal law enforcement agencies banded together to carry out deportation raids as part of Operation Take Back America within 4 days that ended on Friday. The United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Kentucky announced the arrest of 81 illegal aliens, 25 of whom now face various federal criminal charges. The operation was coordinated out of Louisville, and it netted illegal aliens from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Cuba, India, and Palau? 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 Nobody knows where that is. 25 illegal aliens among those arrested are now facing criminal charges, including unlawful reentry after deportation or removal, illegal possession of firearms, and possession of controlled substances. Well, I mean, listen, you need firearms and controlled substances to work in the hospitality industry or pick crops, right? Sorry. It's also tiresome. It really is. It really is. However, a glimmer of hope. New Customs Border Patrol data shows that the amount of fentanyl being seized at the U.S.-Mexico border has dropped by 40% since January. Massive. Massive. And this is because we have a new president. Make no mistake about it. We have now reached the lowest levels of fentanyl being seized at the U.S.-Mexico border since December of 2021. It still needs to get lower. The only acceptable amount is going to be 0. With this administration, I think we can get there. Coming up next, we got Savannah Hernandez. She got a fantastic story coming out of California. She's going to break it all down for us. Plus, we're going to ask her thoughts on the Statue of Liberty. Send it back? I think we send it back. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The National Weather Service confirming an EF1 tornado touched down and traveled for more than 4 miles across Bedford and Rutherford counties on Saturday. Also confirmed straight-line winds that damaged a 1-mile stretch in Grundy County. And for many of us, even now, the issue is flooding, this THP officer in Lawrenceburg.
Do not cross water like this. Probably at the middle of that there is probably 6 foot deep. Please do not even try to attempt it. It's going to cause harm to yourself and the passengers inside your vehicle.
Yeah, 6 people were rescued from 2 flooded out scenes in Murfreesboro as well. Turn around, don't drown. That still applies today. At the height of the storms, police were called to a homeless encampment along the Cumberland River where 2 children, ages 3 and 4 years old, had been left alone by their parents. Those kids had no jackets or shoes, and they appeared to be malnourished. The parents, one of whom left to go drink and do drugs, they were both arrested and charged with felony counts of neglect. And Southern Living magazine is out with its 20 best cities of the South list. The 3 Tennessee cities that make that list include Nashville, which was number 5, the magazine taking note of the city's music scene. The number 8 city, Chattanooga, a paradise, they say, for lovers of the outdoors. And coming in at number 14 is the city of Franklin, beloved for its small-town charm and proximity to big city amenities. That is the latest news. We've got your weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock store. I love these guys. If you need a Glock, you got to go to the Glock store. They got every Glock in stock. And Glocks are the most popular handgun in America. It's easy to understand why. It's because of how much customization you can do to your own Glock. The wide availability of custom and performance parts, you can get it all at the Glock store. From competition triggers to night sights, extended controls, magwells, red dot optics. I mean, there's too many for us to list on the air, but I can guarantee you, if you need it, they have it at the Glock store. And that beautiful showroom in Nashville is clutch, man. Any of the performance parts you buy, they'll install for you for free while you wait. You see, if the doors are open and the lights are on at the Glock store, you can guarantee that there's a gunsmith on duty. And I'll repeat that last part again. You buy a performance part, they'll install it for free while you wait. Just another reason to love the Glock store. There's a lot of reasons to love them. Maybe you're not in the Nashville area, you're watching or listening online. You can always shop at glockstore.com. But if you're in town and you need a performance part for your Glock, the Glock store is minutes from the airport. It's worth the drive from anywhere. Tell them Chris said hi. Glockstore.com.
Do you get sinus infections, congestion, sinus pressure and pain, sinus headaches? You've gone to the doctor, you visit urgent care over and over again, and it's always the same thing, right? Oh, I know. Let's try antibiotics and some nasal sprays. But the infections just keep coming back. You may suffer with chronic sinus infections. The good news, relief is possible. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of Murfreesboro Sinus Center called balloon sinuplasty. Imagine the relief of not having to deal with your chronic sinus infections. Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, pressure, pain, congestion? Set an appointment today with Murfreesboro Sinus Center and find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Call 615-649-4590. 615-649-4590. That's 615-649-4590.
This Saturday at 9, tune into the Efficient Heating and Cooling Hour with Jeff Eddy. It's your home. Keep it comfortable through the changing of the seasons. Questions about heating, cooling, air quality, and more with Jeff Eddy during the Efficient Heating and Cooling Hour. Saturdays at 9 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Sponsored by Efficient HVAC.
Seven minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, and Instagram at Chris Hand on Air. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Very excited about our next guest. Good friend of the show, Savannah Hernandez. She's an investigative reporter with Frontlines and Turning Point USA. She's easily one of the best, and we love having her on. What's up, Sav?
Hey, Chris, thank you so much for having me. I just got back from California, so excited to give you guys my latest story.
Yeah, so I saw the report. So you launched the report on the 14th. You're sitting down with an LA whistleblower, and they're just talking about the ridiculous amount of money that the state of California is giving to illegal aliens, correct?
Yes. So I have been focusing in on blue states primarily because a lot of people are very excited about the fact that we have deportations that are going on, that we are starting to clean things up, that the border is shut down. However, the next natural progression and, of course, the next fight is blue states harboring illegal aliens. And I wanted to go to California specifically because they are a sanctuary state. And I actually had a whistleblower who reached out and showed me all of the documents highlighting the thousands upon thousands of dollars that illegal immigrants have been given by the state of California under programs such as CalFresh, CalWorks, and Medi-Cal, which is basically free cash assistance, free food, and free medical care.
That's insane. How do they get away with this still? And are they doing this to keep the heads there in the state for when that census rolls around?
You know, that is a great question, Chris. I don't know what the long game is here, but it does look like the total destruction of California. Now, a lot of these documents that I was looking at, for example, you had one family that was living in an apartment building in California. They were put in this building It was listed on Zillow for almost $1 million. So again, for the average Californian, your rent is about like $3,000-$4,000 a month. Their rent was paid for the entirety of 2024. And then I also saw the receipts for their CalWorks, which is cash assistance, to the tune of over $1,000 every single month. And then also, again, CalFresh, which was like $600 to $800 in food stamps every month. Now, let's not forget that California has the highest population of homeless people in the entire nation. So it's just absolutely insane to see homeless Americans overlooked for these programs, and they're given to illegal immigrants. I mean, the homeless issue in California in itself is a huge problem, but it's like they just have so many compounding issues, and they're so in debt in that country. I mean, you just had Gavin Newsom last week. His Department of Finance requested a $3.4 billion loan to continue supplementing Medi-Cal because they started extending that free health care to illegal immigrants. So they have a huge deficit over there. So, you ask the question, why do you think this is happening? I don't know. Complete and total destruction of California, which is why Gavin Newsom started his podcast. So that way everyone can kind of overlook that and forget that he destroyed an entire state.
Honestly, he's just gearing up for a run in 2028. Now, I noticed, all right, so over the weekend, or I think it was Friday, the J.D. Vance, Laura Ingraham interview, and he was talking about immigration into Germany. He's like, Germany's going to kill itself. Because it's going to be unrecognizable. And then I see your report and these impromptu little migrant cities, if you will, with like mini sheds that look like, tiny homes. And my first thought was, this looks like the favelas in Brazil. Is California becoming unrecognizable?
Oh, absolutely, and it's been unrecognizable for a long time. Now, California first popped on my radar because I was covering the fentanyl crisis in San Francisco, in which you oftentimes have Americans that are completely leaned over, their bodies are contorted, they're shooting up fentanyl on the streets of San Francisco. I mean, I did a report up there in I think it was like $3 million per house in that neighborhood, and a child had overdosed from fentanyl after crawling in the park in that neighborhood. So California was already on the radar for looking unrecognizable, looking like a third world country, just being in an absolute state of decay, and then adding in this extra angle of these migrants who are waving Mexican flags, saying that they deserve to be here, being able to work in California. And this is something else, Chris. My piece is kind of long, but toward the end, my whistleblower said something very telling. She said that a lot of the migrants don't even want to be here in the United States of America. They feel like it's extremely expensive to live here. They don't like the culture. They don't like the food. They think that their culture is better, which is why you oftentimes see these migrants on our streets protesting on how, their country is better and they deserve to be here. My whistleblower, and this is something I've heard time and time again over my last 4 years of talking to volunteers and whistleblowers who have worked directly with illegal immigrants. They say they're entitled. They say they are expecting us to take care of them, give them free medical care, give them free housing, basically cater to them in every way, shape, or form. They don't even want to stay in this country. A lot of them want to leave the country, but they don't want to leave empty-handed. That's an exact quote from my whistleblower.
That's insane. It's insane. And one of the points you made was the baby. A lot of times with the fentanyl stuff, people will say, oh, let the junkies die. Like, who cares? Like, they made their choice. But I always make the argument, the baby in the apartment in Florida, the Airbnb that passed away because they crawled over some fentanyl. You brought up the baby in the park in California. Like, this stuff is affecting people that aren't just drug users.
Oh, absolutely. And the worst part of it as well is because California is a sanctuary state, oftentimes, I think it's Hondurans that are usually in San Francisco, they will utilize the sanctuary city status of these cities to distribute drugs because they know they can't be deported and they basically won't face any, federal prosecution or even state prosecution for that matter. So they're going to places like California or maybe, like a Denver or Chicago or New York because of the sanctuary status that will keep them from not only being deported, but also out of jail. Because let's not forget, Chris, that you can go stab somebody in New York and then basically be let out, with no bail at all and needed within a couple hours.
It's insane. Now, part of the story that was shocking to me was just how documented California is keeping this stuff. Like, they have all the records. They have all the files. They know where the illegal aliens are. What's stopping somebody from ICE to creating a hacking team to find out this info?
Again, the state policy in California that would fight tooth and nail to keep the illegal immigrants in our country. I mean, for example, you had the mayor of Denver, and the reason I'm bringing him up is because this is the mentality of all of these Democratic mayors. He stated, if ICE comes into Denver and tries to deport people, I will stand in front of their trucks and it will be like Tiananmen Square all over again. I mean, that is the mindset of these Democratic mayors. They do not care about their constituents. They don't care about American citizens. They care about, for some reason, circumventing federal law and trying to make things as chaotic as possible. I mean, and again, too, this can kind of stretch into the overarching theme of globalism and how this mass migration has further corroded, destroyed, the United States of America. I mean, that's ultimately what this seems to be. And they try to portray it under the guise of, oh, well, we just want to be loving and welcoming. And it's like, no, you're destroying our country and you're forcing us to pay for it. And then now when we're trying to clean it up, you're trying to circumvent federal law. I mean, we're seeing this with federal judges now, too, trying to push back against these deportation flights of criminal Tren de Aragua members.
Yes, but I love the optics of it because it is going to put the Democrats in a position where they're going to have to defend Tren de Aragua members. Like, you're going to have Democrats, and I didn't see a lot of them on the weekend shows. Maybe the mainstream media avoided the question, but Jasmine Crockett was out there trying to defend these flights, saying that they should have been brought home. And it's like, are we really defending gang members, rapists, child rapists, and murderers right now?
Oh, that's exactly what they're doing, Chris, but this isn't surprising because they've already been doing that for decades. I mean, they've been, for bail reform. They have been for depopulating the prisons, if you will. They've always been on the side of the criminal for some reason. I mean, that's just how the party is. It's crazy, and I think that's why we saw such a big move toward the right, a big move toward common sense, quite frankly, because the Democrats just got so out of hand with their politics, with siding with criminals constantly. I mean, at the end of the day, the fact that we can't rally around having clean and safe streets for our children across the United States of America is crazy to me. But the average Democrat does not think that our children deserve that, and they're actively fighting against that every single day.
Do you think that more Democrats are waking up in California? I mean, for instance, you having a whistleblower exposing this CalWorks program was a little bit surprising to me. Are there more people waking up to the lies of the left when it comes to this mass immigration?
Oh, absolutely. And I know that California as well has quite a large Republican population. It's just, I mean, going back to the question that you asked at the beginning of our interview, like, do we think that these illegal immigrants are being kept in California so that way, a certain party can continue getting into power? And perhaps, that is why it is, because there are a lot of American citizens in California that are waking up. As I was outside of this apartment complex, filming my stand-up, like, hey, there's illegal immigrants living in here. I actually had one of the residents of that apartment complex who was a homeless American that was like, yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I always get kind of nervous in those situations, Chris, because, I'm standing there on a street in not the best neighborhood by myself. And so I never know what people are going to say, but they gave me a thumbs up and they were like, hey, thank you. These illegal immigrants have been getting so much more than we have.
I always say this about you. You're fearless. All 5'7" of you out there, basically solo in enemy territory. Is there a chance that California ever votes red? I've heard rumblings about this on the internet that you're going to see a move towards the right in the upcoming election, that if Kamala Harris runs for governor, there's no way she can win. Are you getting that vibe from the people on the ground, or is it just deranged leftists?
I don't know, Chris. I think that if we had free and fair elections, we potentially could see a red California, but I don't know if we have that yet. So, maybe we continue to try to clean up the background of, our election system. We try to clean up the judicial system. That's something that really needs to happen, and that's a big problem in California as well. It's like their AGs, their DAs, they don't work on behalf of the law. Like, again, this is just going back to common sense practice and law and order. They are all activist judges, and, we're seeing that across the entire nation. But if we can clean that up, then I think we could see that. But as of now, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, amen. Savannah Hernandez is an investigative reporter for Frontlines with Turning Point USA. What are you working on next? Where does Savannah, where are you taking the news next? What's the next big story?
You know, Chris, you mentioned Jasmine Crockett, and I might be taking a peek at an event or two that she's going to be at. I was like, oh, I'm not sure what I'm going to ask Jasmine, but since she has started to talk about the illegal immigration subject, I think that would be something interesting to ask her about in person. So we might be doing that.
And doesn't she have a bit of an issue with Act Blue donations? And I remember the guy running against her, the Republican, was knocking on doors about donations that she may or may not have received from Democrats, kind of in the same vein of the random Act Blue donations that James O'Keefe was exposing.
Oh, interesting. I did not hear about this, Chris. But that's the thing. It's like every single one of these politicians, they have a long list that I could ask them questions about. That might be one of them.
I'll send you the link. It's wild. He went and knocked on the door of this elderly couple, and they're like, "Did you donate $16,000 to Jasmine Crockett?" And they're like, "Who's Jasmine Crockett?"
Many such cases.
I know it. Savannah Hernandez, awesome journalist. Where can we keep up with you?
Go follow me on X at Sav Says, and go follow Frontline TPUSA.
Okay, I'm going to find that link about that Act Blue stuff. I'm going to send it to you, okay?
Please do. Thanks, Chris.
All right, Savannah Hernandez, she's amazing. Go find her on X. It's worth the follow. 10:51 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Hey everybody, it's Dan Mandis. If you're thinking about new windows, check out my window company, Window Nation. They've got over 20,000 five-star reviews, including mine. So with Window Nation, you can save money in the long run and the short term. Right now, buy 2 windows, get 2 free with no money down and no interest for 2 years. And you do save money in the long run with high-quality, energy-efficient windows from Window Nation. Tell them Dan told you to reach out at 866-90NATION, 866-90NATION, windownation.com.
Sponsored by Shoe Station.
Andy, how does it feel to win the summer?
It feels great. I couldn't have done it without my lawn care team at Weedman.
There you have it. It's Weedman for the win. Visit weedman.com for a free quote and save 50% on your first service with promo code WIN.
Picking up the pieces from the severe weather outbreak. Tell you about that tornado that was confirmed coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. 57 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Now that Ken is in the building, let's give him his flowers. Ken, fantastic coverage over the weekend, man.
Hey, everybody, fantastic coverage.
I'm blessed to be a part of this team. Like I told the guys, I was like, I'm here if you need me. But we got Ken, we got Murphy, we got Mandis, we got Joan, we got Benson, we got Wilson. I'm like, I'm fine with being the last guy on the bench. I mean, we had a squad ready to go.
Yeah, but here's the thing, dude. You weren't the last guy on the bench, man. I mean, what you handled on socials and what you handled on the technical side of things, I'm telling you, dudes, outstanding work.
Mason was a beast.
Without Mason, we're not on the air.
Amen.
I appreciate it. I'm just here to help.
And we had like almost 10,000 people watching the live stream when we broke into weather coverage.
Yeah.
So it's just and Mason had the radars up on the screen. It was very, very good work. But it's also important to point out that when we go live like that, you can get those notifications to your phone. You go to the YouTube page, you hit like, you hit subscribe, and then click on the little bell, right? Is it still a bell?
Yeah,
I
it's
think
a little bell. It's a notification bell, yeah.
So then you get notifications whenever we break in. And I understand, like, the majority of the time, you know when we're on, right? Show starts at 9. I don't have to tell you.
Yes, sir.
But when we break into that weather coverage, you'd get those notifications straight to your phone. So it's important to go to YouTube and like, subscribe, and then click on that bell. So that way, if something does break out, you're notified instantly when we're going on, because we go on as soon as there's a warning in our area, correct?
Yes. Yeah, tornado warning, we're on. I mean, severe thunderstorm warnings, that's when we start babysitting it, because 9 times out of 10, there's going to be some sort of rotation that prompts the warning, the tornado warning. And then now we've learned that that rotation that started in Bedford and Rutherford County, that was a tornado on the ground for almost 5 miles.
It's insane. 300 yards wide.
Yeah.
3 football fields.
That's significant.
That's massive. And we were there. And then the other part of that, which is like the unsung hero in all of this, I can give Ken his flowers and Murphy his. You guys watching and sending in reports and calling in.
Absolutely.
It is so clutch to have eyes and ears on the ground in this community that we've engaged here, being able to text in information. Like, we knew, we didn't learn from Highway Patrol that 24 was shut down over at Exit 89. We learned from a super texter that Exit 89 was shut down because of debris in the road. So you guys are as important a part of that as any of us, and we just thank you for being there and for staying in tune with us and choosing us for your storm coverage. Thank you. And
absolutely.
Again, shout out to Ken Weaver, man.
You guys. Shout out to you.
One of the best in the business. This guy, he knows a NATO, and he was ready to go. So shout out to Ken Weaver. On the way, the Democrats are in complete disarray. Like, I don't think that's something I need to tell you, but it was really apparent over the weekend. After Schumer with the shutdown, The Democrats are essentially in a civil war. And one of the things that was asked by numerous people on the Sunday morning shows, do you support a Chuck Schumer primary? Oh, that's interesting. It perked my ears up. We'll talk about that when we get back. Plus, the scandal of all scandals, President Autopen. All that and more on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Storm damage update. A lot of us heard a lot of this over the weekend. Yeah, an EF1 tornado in all that lightning and thunder confirmed to have touched down in Rutherford and Bedford counties. 300 yards wide. It was on the ground for 4.5 miles. Peak winds at 95 miles per hour. A man in Lebanon tells Channel 4 he wasn't aware that a big boom near his home was actually a lightning strike.
When I was getting the package, my neighbor Tracy across the street was running towards us, and he was just like trying to get my attention. And I immediately took notice to him because he didn't have any shoes on or anything. It was like panic. And he was like, "Your house is on fire. The attic is on fire." And I'm like, "What?"
He was able to put that fire out in his attic with a fire extinguisher. The town of Woodbury is under a boil water advisory after the treatment plant there flooded during Saturday's storm. Residents asked to boil their water before using until tomorrow morning. And we should consider ourselves lucky. At least 39 people confirmed dead in storm-related incidents in 7 states over the weekend.
In Talladega County, Alabama, an EF2 tornado with winds up to 120 miles per hour. Anita Owens' mother is one of at least 3 people who died in Alabama. Her daughter discovering the house was destroyed.
She called me back and all she could say was, "Mama, her house is gone. It's leveled."
And in Paulding County, Georgia, roads littered with fallen trees and power lines.
It sounded like a war zone. Stuff beating against the house, wind was whipping through.
Allison Cossack, ABC News.
Yeah, Missouri had the highest death toll with 12 fatalities. Got your bracket yet? NCAA men's college basketball tournament set. The Volunteers, the number 2 seed in the Midwest region. Vandy, number 10 seed in the East. They'll face number 7 St. Mary's in the first round on Friday. And as for the ladies, Lady Vols, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee Tech all going to the tournament. The Vols start the tournament in Columbus, Ohio with a showdown against 12th seeded South Florida Friday. Commodores facing 10th seed Oregon on Friday in Durham. And Tennessee Tech, a 16 seed, goes to Columbia, South Carolina to play what seems to be the unbeatable Gamecocks, the regional's number 1 seed on Friday. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
6 minutes past the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You got to get those guys in. You need it. You deserve it. Betterwater.com. So we want to talk about the Democrat Civil War. But first, the big story today is that Trump and his administration orchestrated a plan to send a boatload, or maybe more appropriately, a plane load, actually, excuse me, more appropriately, 2 plane loads of illegal alien gang members, murderers, rapists to El Salvador, to CCOT, which is one of the most extreme prisons in the world. There's videos out there of tours inside CCOT by a couple of internet journalists that are just fantastic, and I've retweeted them. You can find them on my profile at Chris Hand on Air. Worth the watch. But so Trump ordered these aliens, illegals, and gang members out of our country. Okay, halfway through the flight, when the planes are over international waters, a federal judge appointed by Obama says, "You can't do that. Turn the planes around." And then the Trump administration said, "Hard pass." And then they landed in El Salvador, and now they're in the El Salvadorian prison, CCOT. Good. Thank you, President Trump. President Trump was asked about it on Air Force One, and Trump had this to say.
Criticism that the Alien Enemies Act has only been invoked 3 other times. They were all during times of war. Do you feel that you're using it appropriately right now?
Well, this is a time of war because Biden allowed millions of people, many of them criminals, many of them at the highest level. They emptied jails out. Other nations emptied their jails into the United States. That's an invasion. And these are criminals, many criminals, murderers, drug dealers at the highest level, drug lords, people from mental institutions. That's an invasion. They invaded our country. So this isn't, in that sense, this is war.
Amen. Where's the lie? And the Democrats are going to have to defend this. The Democrats are going to have to anything Trump says, they got to do the opposite. Trump could say oxygen is great, and you'll have Democrats putting bags over their heads saying we don't want any more oxygen. And now the Democrats are going to be forced to defend gang members, murderers, rapists, child rapists, human traffickers, drug traffickers. I don't understand why. And I do think a lot of the Sunday morning news shows understood the optics of having to defend that, and they didn't ask the Democrats those questions. The only one I saw ask that question was Jasmine Crockett. She stepped in it. But the one of the things that she said was that this is a zombie law. How can you use a zombie law? This is what happened in Arizona with abortion. And you find these old laws on the books, and then you use them, and it's not okay to do. Well, it's funny. It's funny you should say that. Tom Homan was asked about this zombie law, and he had this to say.
What do you say to those who claim you're using a 200-year-old law to circumvent due process?
An old law? Not as old as the Constitution. We still pay attention to that, don't we?
And he walks away. He walked away, absolute beast. Oh, it's a 200-year-old law. Why would you use a 200-year-old law?
What do you say to those who claim you're using a 200-year-old law to circumvent due process?
An old law? Not as old as the Constitution. We still pay attention to that, don't we?
Oh, my gosh. Would it be appropriate to say I have a man crush on Tom Homan? I feel like it's appropriate to say I have a man crush on Tom Homan. I just love how he walks away. He just walks away. Well, the Constitution's older than that, and we still follow it. I'll talk to you guys later. Incredible.
Beast.
Absolutely incredible. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. But this is what the Democrats are doing, right? And this is why their approval ratings are lower than they've ever been. And they're just lost. They are lost. I almost feel bad for them. I don't actually. I don't feel bad at all. Trump, meanwhile, more popular than he's ever been. Okay? The Democrats can yell. The Democrats can scream. But Trump ties for the highest approval he's ever had. More Americans say that the U.S. is on the right track than any time since 2004, and the Democrats are still going to scream. The Democrats are still going to yell. We're only a few months into his second term. President Trump, highest approval rating he's ever had as commander-in-chief. More Americans say that the country's on the right track at any point since 2004. And that's not according to like a conservative poll. That's according to an NBC News poll, released on Sunday. Unbelievable. And the Democrats, they're gonna try and do whatever they can to fight Trump, and they're also fighting each other. But on the Sunday News, I did notice this. A new script has dropped. This is from Western Lensman on Twitter. Definitely worth a follow. This guy is he's fantastic. But I coined this on my X account. Some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this.
The strength that we have is in this moment.
Listen to your constituents. Center them in this moment.
But I can tell you that there are a lot of people that are watching his leadership in this moment. This is the moment.
No, I think about what's happening, in this moment.
What's important is that we meet this moment.
So are these current Democrats the ones to meet the moment?
What do you want to see us doing right now in this moment?
And which Democrats are actually going to stand up against Elon Musk and Donald Trump in this moment?
The fight that you all are exhibiting is not just what the base wants, but it's what this moment requires.
Some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this.
Time to meet the moment.
So the talking points are there. And nobody likes the Democrats, surprisingly enough. The party approval numbers are at historic lows. And Chris Murphy, senator out of the lousy state of Connecticut, Chris Murphy was on Meet the Press, and they said, the Democrat Party numbers, historic lows.
I think Americans...
And they said, why is that, and what are you going to do about that?
Our new NBC News poll, as you just saw, shows the Democratic Party at an all-time low approval rating. Why do you think Democrats are failing to connect with Americans at this critical moment of urgency, which you described?
It's what I just talked about. I think Americans want the Democratic Party to stand up and fight and to take risks. Listen, I understand that had we gone into a shutdown, even for a handful of days, it would have been difficult. But it would have sent a message that the Democratic Party is not going to be bullied by Donald Trump. We are not going to let them write spending bills unilaterally that cut programs for people we care about, that give the president new and extraordinary power. I think Democrats in this country, but I think the broad middle of the public as well, want to see our party fighting in exceptional ways. That is the conversation that has to happen inside of the Democratic Party, inside our caucus. And if we don't get that right, if we continue to work with Republicans, if we continue to hand Donald Trump more power, we are going to lose our democracy.
Oh, so, okay. Senator Murphy, your approval numbers are at historic lows. People hate the Democrat Party. What are you going to do differently? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to fight Trump even harder. That's what the American people want. If we don't fight Trump, we'll lose our democracy. It's a bold strategy, Cotton, but I don't know. I mean, we've seen this. We've seen this now for how many years? And it never seems to work. I think what the Democrats should do is just have some honesty. And I don't want to give them ideas, but maybe don't fight against Trump when he's deporting criminal gangbangers and illegal aliens and murderers and rapists. Maybe don't take the opposite side of that issue. Maybe just ask yourself, is this good for the American people and American communities and American cities? And if the answer is yes, even if it's something Trump agrees with, maybe, just maybe, you should say, okay, well, let's not rail against it. Democrats will never take that advice. Let's be perfectly honest. 44% of Americans say the country is headed in the right direction. This is the largest number since 2004. Again, this isn't a conservative poll. This is an NBC poll.
First of all, the mood of the country. This really jumped out. We asked folks, is it on the right direction or the wrong direction? That 44% you say right direction, that's up since November. And if that doesn't seem like a lot, the last time it cracked 40%, you got to go back to 2012. The last time it actually hit 44 or higher, January of 2004.
So more Americans believe the country is on the right track than they did under Biden, than they did under Obama, since 2004. Interesting. Isn't that interesting? Well, what are the Democrats going to do? Well, they're going to fight harder. Okay. Hey, bold strategy. Bold strategy. Now, the Democrats aren't just fighting Trump. They're also fighting their own party. The guy that they're really taking aim at is one Chuck Schumer, because, Schumer, he avoided a government shutdown, which I'm not a huge fan of personally. I think anytime the government shuts down, it's more than a net positive. But people are asking Democrats on the weekend shows, what's the deal with Schumer, right? What are you guys going to do with Schumer? Clearly, he's not on the team anymore. And Jasmine Crockett was asked this question by Jake Tapper.
Some progressive groups are calling for new leadership in the Senate for Democrats. Even House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, your leader, he was asked if he supports Schumer as leader of the Senate Democrats, and he said, next question. Do you think Senate Democrats should replace Chuck Schumer?
I think Senate Democrats have to sit down and take a look and decide whether or not Chuck Schumer is the one to lead in this moment.
Oh, in the moment. In the moment. Some people wait a lifetime. Sorry. It's been stuck in my head since I heard that clip from Western Lensman. I can't help it. I can't.
Meet in the moment.
It's in this moment. But he asked her a more poignant question. He said, okay, well, would you support Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez if she primaried Chuck Schumer? That's a why? Why are we doing this? I don't like Chuck, but is AOC the answer?
You're close with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York. Some of your fellow House Democrats say, and not just progressives, by the way, we've heard that moderates have said this too, that they're ready to support her to challenge Chuck Schumer in a Democratic primary. Would you get behind that?
That's 4 years from now. If you were asking me at least in 2 years, then I would have an absolute answer. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people that are watching his leadership in this moment. This is the moment. We don't even know what elections will look like in 4 years, if we will have elections. And so I definitely think that younger, fresher leadership may be something that many of us, not just depending on what part of the spectrum you're on, but many Americans may be looking for, especially in the state of New York.
Yeah, especially in New York in this moment. Listen, Jake, I understand, but the moment you're talking about isn't the moment we're in right now. We need to focus on the moment here.
Jake, can I have a moment?
Give me a moment, please. Meanwhile, the Democrat Party approval rating is the lowest that it's been in 30 years. I think that if we're going to be acknowledging the moment that we're in, I think the Democrats would be really, really smart to acknowledge this moment.
Good morning. Welcome Inside Politics Sunday. I'm Manu Raju. First up this morning, a brand new exclusive CNN poll that paints a brutal reality for Democrats as they struggle to mount a unified opposition to President Trump. Americans' favorable views of the Democratic Party's brand are at a record low, just 29%. That's compared to 36% for Republicans. It is the lowest ever recorded for Democrats in CNN polling going back more than 30 years.
Is that a good thing? This is the moment we're in, guys. Are you ready for this moment?
I don't want anything to do with this moment.
It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And if you would allow me a moment, I want to tell you about spring rebate madness at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Listen to these rebates. You get a mini split 17 SEER or heat pump 17 SEER, you get $800 back in the form of a rebate. How about a heat pump 15 or 16 SEER? You get a $500 rebate. Duct sealing or repair, $300 rebate. Tune-ups, $50 rebate for each one. So when you join the Beehive Club membership at just $99, you get 3 annual tune-ups with that. You get 2 of your tune-ups done. They'll file the rebates for you. It pays for itself, and it's the best deal in HVAC. Becoming a Beehive Club member, you get 3 annual tune-ups, 10% off all repairs, front-of-the-line service, $100 annual accrued replacement credit, no overtime or holiday fees, and exclusive Beehive member promotions. If you have a moment today, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833. It only takes a moment, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
A federal judge has set a hearing for this afternoon over claims the Trump administration might have ignored his deportation order. We'll tell you about it at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. It's 11:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners. You know why you need them, right? Do I have to tell you? Do I have to?
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
BetterWater.com. Talk to Craig. Talk to Brandy. They'll hook you up. They'll even test your water for free. BetterWater.com. So, President Autopen. Have you seen President Autopen? Donald Trump. He posted this on X and Truth Social. He was posting it all over the place. It's the presidential portraits, and this may be one of the funniest posts that Trump ever posted. And he has a picture. It's a presidential picture, right? And in the picture, it's got 45, and he's sitting there. He's got a big smile on his face, and then it's got 46, and it's just a signature. It's just a signature, and then he's got 47, which is once again Trump. I'll put it on the screen for you guys watching on YouTube. That way you can see. Trump posted this, and it's glorious. It's so good. It's so good. What is the autopen scandal? Does anybody know what the autopen scandal is? Well, apparently, Joe Biden was using a so-called autopen to fill in his signature on official documents. So anybody could have signed the documents, right? That's what the implications are. And you've heard conversations in the past where Mike Johnson was talking to Joe Biden about an executive order he signed, and he said, "I didn't sign that." He's like, "No, you did. I saw that you signed the document." So it's creating a lot of questions. Now, President Trump laid into Joe Biden for using the autopen to fill in his documents. You can see the picture that he posted on X, which is hilarious. But speaking from the Justice Department building in Washington, D.C. on Friday, Trump actually had a lot more to say about Joe Biden using the autopen feature. And I guess what you could say is he's not impressed, I think would be the best way to put it. Not impressed with the use of the autopen.
You don't use autopen. It's number one, it's disrespectful to the office. Number two, maybe it's not even valid because, who's getting him to sign? He had no idea what the hell he was doing. If he did, all of these bad things wouldn't be happening right now.
That's the implication. Who's signing it, right? Who is it? Is it Joe? Now there's a video going around, and Wokeness had this on Twitter, where they're comparing the autopen signatures, and it's like the exact same signature on just about every single document that he's ever signed. The Biden family pardon, the Dr. Fauci pardon, the J6 committee pardon, the General Milley pardon, and a lot of people are wondering, did Joe even sign these pardons? Or did somebody sign them for Joe? Trump posted on Truth Social just a bit. It was a bit of a flamethrower of a post. He said the pardons that Sleepy Joe Biden gave to the unselect committee of political thugs are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect because of the fact they were done by autopen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, he did not know anything about them. The necessary pardoning documents were not explained to or approved by Biden. He knew nothing about them, and the people that did may have committed a crime. Therefore, those on the Unselect Committee who destroyed and deleted all evidence obtained during their 2-year witch hunt of me and many other innocent people should fully understand they are subject to investigation at the highest level. The fact is, they were probably responsible for the documents that were signed on their behalf without knowledge or consent of the worst president in the history of our country, Crooked Joe Biden. Now, I saw this story come out a couple days ago, and I wasn't sure where it would lead, but it does seem like it's leading somewhere. And you got to think that the people that got the pardons, Liz Cheney, Fauci, Milley, they're probably biting their nails today, huh? I would be. Then again, maybe nothing will happen. We still don't have the Epstein documents from Bondi, so take it with a grain of salt. 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.